Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are wading right into one of the biggest debates shaping our future, the whole tightrope walk of AI ethics.
Yeah, it's huge. And the sources you sent over, they don't just list concerns. They really set up this big clash of ideas about how we should actually build the future.
Absolutely. It feels like a fundamental disagreement.
That's right. And what's great about this material is how it frames that central conflict. It makes it clear this isn't just, about code. It's about what we value, what we prioritize.
And it highlights two main camps, right?
Exactly. Two distinct worldviews. We
Yeah.
can kind of label them the optimist camp and the ethicist camp.
Okay, let's start with the optimists. In the sources, that's Dr. Elias Valente leading that charge. Their side seems to view, well, technological development as the absolute priority. Your note's called efficacy and potential human augmented.
Spot on. They're focused on the upside. They seem willing to accept certain risks, maybe even significant ones, because the potential payoff social, medical, economic advancements is just so massive in their view.
Right. The ends justify the means, perhaps.
Maybe not quite that stark, but they definitely lean towards progress first. Then on the other side, you have the cautious ethicist, that's Sofia Mendes in the material.
And their focus.
Laser sharp on safety, equity, and responsibility. For them, just letting progress run wild without guardrails, that's a recipe for disaster, societal injustice, future problems.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission today is really to get grips with the dilemma itself. This AI tightrope, it seems stretched between getting the most out of the tech
The efficiency, the power.
and holding on to core human values. Fairness, accountability.
And precisely, that's the balancing act.
Let's dive right in then. Maybe start with the risk the safety folks flag up first.
Yeah.
This issue of algorithmic bias and the lack of transparency that seems to go hand in hand with it.
Yeah, that's a huge one. And the problem is systemic right from the start. It begins with the data we feed these things, the training data.
Historical data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Vast amounts of it. And if that historical data reflects human biases, which, let's face it, it absolutely does around race, gender, location, money, the AI doesn't just learn those biases, it kind of encodes them, hardens them into the system.
It sounds simple when you put it like that, but I feel like the difficulty gets underestimated. It's not just garbage in, garbage out, is it? It's more complex.
You're right. It's more like an acceleration problem. That's a good way to put it. What's really fascinating and worrying is the feedback loop concept.
How does that work?
Well, say an AI is trained on old loan data showing certain groups got fewer approvals. The AI learns, okay, these groups are higher risk, so it denies them more loans.
Which then means they can't build up a good credit history.
Exactly. And the next time data is collected, it looks like the AI made the right call because, look, they still have poor credit. The bias gets amplified. It becomes self-perpetuating, baked deeper into the system.
And this is where the transparency issue really bites, because we can't easily fix what we can't see. Mendes, the ethicist, she's really focused on auditability, right?
Yeah.
Why can't we just, pop the hood and see the decision-making process? What's the technical barrier?
Well, that brings us right to that phrase from the source. The caixinha, the black box problem.
Black box, okay.
See, with older software, maybe 20 years ago, programmers wrote specific rules. If X, then Y. You could check those rules.
You audit.
Right. But modern systems, especially deep learning, large language models, they work differently. They operate on billions, sometimes trillions of parameters, weighted connections.
Billions. Trillions.
Yes. It's staggering. They learn through tiny, tiny adjustments to all these connections based on analyzing millions of data points until the output seems right. Even the people who built the model often can't point to one specific parameter or one line of code and say, that's the bit that decided to deny this person the job.
So the reasoning is smeared across the entire network.
Pretty much. It's too distributed, too complex for a human to really interpret the step-by-step logic for any single decision.
So it's not just bad commenting in the code or something, it's baked into the architecture.
Exactly. It's a fundamental limitation of how these powerful systems learn and operate.
And the consequence?
Well, when you can't trace the why behind a decision when the box is black, you seriously undermine responsibility, accountability, and that directly hits fairness. In credit scores, in hiring decisions, maybe even in the justice system down the line. If you don't know why you were rejected, how can you possibly argue it was unfair?
You can't appeal effectively.
Precisely.
Okay, that's a massive challenge on the input side, the data side. Now let's pivot. Let's talk about the output side, autonomous action. The optimist camp, Dr. Valente, argues that real progress, that efficacy and potential human augmented they're aiming for, actually requires full autonomy.
Yeah, autonomy is really the cornerstone for them. They point to breakthroughs, right? Things like dramatically speeding up research, like protein folding, or optimizing huge global supply chains constantly in real time.
Stuff humans can't do at that speed or scale.
Exactly. These things need AIs to make incredibly complex decisions very fast in changing situations. No human team could possibly coordinate that quickly. That speed, that scale, that's what they see as the engine of progress.
Okay, but, and this seems like a huge but, if we grant AI genuine independence, we immediately hit this problem the sources call the responsibility vacuum. This is where it gets really tricky, doesn't it? If an AI acts truly on its own, makes its own judgments, and causes harm, who's responsible?
Yeah.
Legally, morally.
And the sources highlight fields where this is already a live issue, a legal gray area. Think about self-driving cars.
A classic example.
Right. Or AI used in medical diagnosis.
Yeah.
If a self-driving car has to choose in an accident, the trolley problem scenarios, who programmed that choice? Who is liable? Or if a medical AI misses a rare cancer because it's an edge case, something outside its main training data, where does the buck stop?
But wait, isn't this just new technology? I mean, humans make mistakes all the time. Doctors misdiagnose, pilots have accidents, we have laws for malpractice, for negligence. Why is AI liability fundamentally different or harder?
It's harder, I think, because our current legal frameworks are built around human judgment and intent. If a human doctor makes a mistake, we can ask, were they negligent? Did they fail to follow the standard procedures? Was there intent, even?
Okay.
But if an AI misdiagnoses, it might have followed its programming perfectly. Its statistical model, based on the data it learned from, simply led to that outcome. The error isn't a lapse in procedure. It's inherent in the algorithm's design or data.
So you can't easily point to negligence in the same way.
Exactly. So the responsibility vacuum isn't just about who pays the damages. It's about defining what failure or fault even means when the actor isn't human.
Is it the company that trained the model? The company using the AI? The original data provider? It gets messy fast.
Extremely messy. And that's the core tension, isn't it? We seem to need this autonomy to get the efficiency gains, the big benefits the optimists promise.
Efficacy and augmentation.
Right. But the more autonomy we give the AI, the more we seem to dilute direct human accountability.
So the optimist pushes for more tech power.
While the ethicist demands we keep a clear line of human responsibility, connecting it to the bigger picture, it feels like societies basically need to decide. How much accountability are we willing to trade away for potentially huge gains in efficiency and capability?
That's a heavy question. And this conflict, efficacy versus accountability, naturally leads to a huge headache for policymakers. Which brings us to the regulatory debate. The sources frame it as this high-stakes choice: regulate firmly now or risk getting left behind.
Yeah, the fear from the optimist camp. From Dr. Valente's perspective, it's almost palpable in the material. They argue that if you bring in heavy-handed, maybe premature regulations, you could just suffocate development.
Choke the innovation.
Right. If one country, or say Europe, imposes really strict safety rules, the cutting-edge development might just pack up and move elsewhere to places with less oversight.
And the consequence, in their view,
is that we miss out on realizing all that potential.
Yeah.
Medical cures, the climate change solutions, the economic growth. They see risk as just part of the deal, baked into progress. Trying to eliminate all risk means you stagnate.
So trying to regulate perfectly means you achieve nothing.
That's the essence of their argument. Yeah, it's a pragmatic, maybe slightly ruthless viewpoint on progress. But then Sofia Mendes and the Cautious Ethicists, they push back hard. They demand robust governance, global laws ideally, and they want them before these super powerful systems are deeply embedded everywhere.
They see not regulating as the real risk.
Absolutely. They argue that failing to govern now is incredibly dangerous.
What are the specific nightmare scenarios they're worried about if we don't set rules soon?
Well, two main ones come through strongly in the sources. First, the systemic injustice from those algorithmic biases we talked about.
Becoming permanent.
Yes. Imagine if biased AI is built into finance, healthcare, government hiring without any real oversight. Existing inequalities could become locked in, invisible, almost impossible to undo.
Okay, that's bad. What's the second one?
The second one is maybe even more fundamental, potentially destabilizing for society itself. It's the threat of mass unemployment driven by unchecked, super fast automation.
The job loss argument. That looms large in the material.
It really does.
Yeah.
The ethicist camp isn't just saying some jobs might change. They seem to fear that highly efficient AI could displace so many workers so quickly that it triggers societal collapse, not an economic boom. Unless, that is, we have global safety nets and new governance structures ready before it happens.
So they see the economic disruption not as like a side effect to manage later.
No, they see it as an ethical time bomb, something that demands regulation right from the start. The tension here is just, wow, it feels almost unbearable. Are we potentially sacrificing huge advances for social stability, or are we risking social stability for the sake of efficiency?
So for anyone listening, researchers, policymakers, what's the takeaway? It seems the real dilemma isn't if we should regulate. Clearly, some rules are needed, but it's finding that knife-edge balance, the precise level of oversight that keeps things safe and fair.
Without completely freezing progress in its tracks.
Yeah, it feels like an impossible balancing act. And failure on either side looks pretty bad, either stagnation or, well, systemic injustice and chaos. Hashtag outro again. This has been quite the deep dive. We've really explored this fundamental split in AI development. It feels like we're constantly caught between pushing for maximum efficacy, best results, augmenting human potential,
The optimist's goal.
and ensuring equity and safety. The demand for justice, for accountability.
The ethicist's mandate. And I think the biggest insight from these sources really is that we actually need both perspectives. Both voices are essential. We absolutely need that optimistic drive, that innovation push to unlock those incredible benefits, the medical, the economic ones. But that drive has to be constantly, critically checked and balanced by the concerns for transparency, for fairness, for accountability, for justice. Knowledge is great, but it's most valuable when we understand it and apply it wisely. And applying it wisely here means building AI that truly serves all of humanity.
Not just the efficient parts.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's leave our listeners with a final thought. The cautious ethicist, Sofia Mendes, she was pretty clear that mass unemployment from unchecked AI efficiency is a real serious risk.
Okay.
And while the optimist, Dr. Valente, promises massive economic growth, maybe that growth mainly benefits a few.
That's a definite concern.
So instead of just asking if AI will replace jobs, which seems kind of likely for many sectors, maybe the bigger question for you, the listener, to mull over is this. If AI actually delivers on those promises, the exponential medical breakthroughs, the huge economic gains, are we ready? Are we as a species prepared to fundamentally rethink society, rethink governance, maybe even rethink the whole concept of work itself?
To manage the massive social disruption that the ethicist warns about, even if it's disruption caused by abundance.
Are we prepared to manage abundance fairly? That's definitely something to keep exploring.